Color guard, right face.
Jacksonville's new park opens with a historical flair.
Why these young basketball stars say it's more than just the score.
And this spark in the park still burns strong 22 years later.
All this and more on JaxParks TV, coming up now.
Hey everyone, and welcome to this March edition of JaxParks TV. I'm Garrett Teague.
And I'm Pam Roman. We are coming to you every month with the latest and greatest information about your parks.
And you probably already know that Jacksonville has the largest urban park system in the nation, and it just got bigger by about 850 acres.
That's right. Earlier this month, Mayor Brown joined other city leaders and residents to celebrate the grand opening of Seton Creek Historic Preserve. We were there with cameras rolling to catch the excitement.
With the snip of the scissors and a cheer from the crowd, Seton Creek Historic Preserve officially opened for visitors. City and environmental leaders, history enthusiasts, and other residents all turned out on March 3rd to celebrate the event. The park's opening marks another success for Mayor Brown's People Parks Connection.
We have great parks in our city, and this is another opportunity for people to come out and kayak and canoe, horseback riding, bike riding, all the things that make a city so great. And opening this park is an example of our commitment as the Brown administration, really making sure we give people an opportunity to enjoy Mother Nature.
The preserve includes 3 trails, 3 creeks, a kayak landing, benches, and parking. That means you can come out and hike, bike, or ride horses, picnic, or just relax, making the spot an ideal location for getting back in touch with nature.
Oh, but this is just such a beautiful piece of property. I can't wait to share it with everybody. I've actually been out here already horseback riding with my family, but bike riding, just walking, it's just a gorgeous piece of property.
The site is also believed to have a significant place in American history.
Well, this site is the southernmost battle of the Revolutionary War. As an important historic event, it is identified specifically in our national park legislation as a site to be protected.
The city purchased the property in 2012 using a $5.3 million Forest Legacy grant and $1.7 million from city funds.
This is a tremendous asset that could have easily been developed into condominiums, homes, what have you, and all the stars kind of aligned and allowed the city of Jacksonville to acquire it as a preservation park. And so we're going to keep it just the way God made it from here on out.
You can find more information about Seton Creek Historic Preserve and download its trail maps online at JaxParks.com.
Yep, and so when you think about March, Pam, what do you think about?
Well, I think about the first day of spring and new spring fashions, of course, and St. Patrick's Day with all the green, corned beef and cabbage, all that fun stuff.
Well, I think most people, when they think about March, they think about March Madness.
Oh.
And JaxParks has its own version of the tournament. Recently, UNF student and JaxParks intern Dina Kowal took to the courts.
JaxParks' Youth Basketball League gives all kids a chance to be a star on the court, no matter the skill level. This league plays at different community centers throughout the week and has divisions for kids as young as 5 and as old as 18. Dribbling, shooting, passing. You name it, and these coaches work on it with them. And with their families cheering them on, these games can get pretty exciting. But for these kids, it's more than just a game. This is where they make their friends and come together as a team. Coach Wilcox describes how the Youth Basketball League benefits everyone.
It's all positive, it's nothing negative, and we're just trying to instill in them a way of enjoying life and excelling in anything that they do, whether it be sports, academics, or whatever that they choose to do.
And with March Madness right around the corner, this league is kicking it off right with their own tournament, one they have every season. While this league is for the kids, the parents and coaches get in on the action too.
I love working with kids, working with the youth, and also gives me a chance to give back to the community and to the young people, because when I was growing up, it wasn't programs like this available. Now that the city is offering this type of program, it uplifts me, it gives me great joy to participate in it.
Nothing is wrong with a little friendly competition. So, to keep your kids active and in the parks, get them involved in youth sports.
Kudos to Coach Wilcox and our athletic volunteers for all they do for our youth.
Yep, now we need to take a short break, so don't go away. We're coming back with a slithery surprise, and later, it's the legacy of one local park. Still ahead.
Separate raw meats from other foods by using different cutting boards. 3,000 Americans will die from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
Global warming is a problem.
It's a problem.
I wanted to do something to become more energy efficient.
To protect the environment.
To protect the future.
So I turned to Energy Star for help.
Energy Star is helping me be part of the solution.
Everyone can join the fight against global warming. Go to EnergyStar.gov to learn what you can do.
Together,
we can all make a difference.
Turning a 20-foot wall into a canvas takes vision. So will getting into college. I've got what it takes. So do you.
There's just so much that I love about Jacksonville. I moved here from Philadelphia 15 years ago, and I'm just amazed at the improvements and all of the cultural and educational and recreational improvements that have happened since then. And I think what I love most that's brought this all together is just that there's such a dynamic group of people in Jacksonville.
Welcome back to JaxParks TV. With warmer temperatures here, your next adventure may be just outside your window, especially if you live or work downtown. Local outfitter Joe Crespi is here with more.
Hey guys, I'm Joe Crespi, and I'm with First Coast Outfitters. I'm here today with JaxParks at the St. John's Marina Boat Ramp, where we're going to be doing some paddling and exploring downtown on the St. John's River. But before that, we're going to go over some safety tips. No matter where you paddle, it's important to always check the tide and weather reports before hitting the water. Some of the things that you want to make sure you've got on your safety checklist are going to be a communication device, whether it be a cell phone or VHF radio, a personal flotation device, a whistle, and a float plan, letting somebody know when and where you're going to be going and when you plan on returning. All right, let's hit the water. When launching at the St. John's Marina, there's a couple things to keep in mind. Take precaution getting in or out of your boat due to the fact that it can be slippery here at times. The best time to go paddling downtown is during the tide change, also known as slack tide. That's when you're going to find the least amount of water moving. At times, the tides can be very strong downtown, so planning ahead and checking those tide reports is going to be crucial to having a great time on the river. Another thing to keep in mind when paddling in downtown Jacksonville is going to be boat traffic, and particularly during holidays and events, you'll find heavier than normal boat traffic and activity. It's important as a paddler that you're aware of your surroundings and keep an eye out for some of the larger boats. Once you're downtown and on the river, you'll be rewarded with beautiful scenic views of our downtown Jacksonville, including the Landing, Friendship Fountain, the Main Street Bridge, and Eberbank Field. You'll also have the opportunity to check out two of Jacksonville's most historic creeks, one being Hogan's Creek, which is just east of the Main Street Bridge, and the other being McCoy's Creek, which is just west of the Acosta Bridge. Thanks for coming paddling with us downtown. For more information on water trails, hiking trails, or camping in Jacksonville, check out JaxParks.com or find us on Facebook or YouTube.
Well, kayaking downtown looks like a lot of fun. I want to go out right now and buy a kayak and try it out. But what if you want to keep your action more on dry land?
Well, some people out there may think about taking their bikes to the trails, but just aren't sure where to start. Up next, our local off-road biking expert, Dan Zafuto, gives you some tips to take your tires to the trails.
Hey everybody, this is Dan Zafuto with Sorba Jax. We're out at Hanna Park today with JaxParks, and we're here to check out some of the trails at Hanna. We have been blessed with over 17 miles of mountain biking trails, so if you find yourself in Northeast Florida with a mountain bike, come on out and ride with us. Today we want to go over some of the trails and what to expect, but before we do that, let's check out some safety tips.
First of all, it's very important to wear a properly fitting helmet to protect your noggin. We also recommend out here at Hanna eye protection to guard against palm fronds and twigs that could poke you in the eye. Many riders prefer to wear riding gloves to protect against branches and vines as they're riding by. Proper footwear is a must. No open-toed shoes. If you have shoes with laces on it, be sure to tuck them in so they don't get caught up in your chain. When you come out to Hanna, choosing the correct bike is essential. When you ride our easy trails, any kind of casual bike will be more than fine. However, if you're going to step it up and ride on our more difficult trails, please be sure to ride proper mountain bikes.
So now that we have the proper gear, let's help you pick the proper trail.
First, we have our green trails. On our green trails, expect to find wide corridors, minimal grade changes, and a mix of loose sand and hard pack. Green trails are a great place to learn how to ride a mountain bike, bring the family, or have a relaxing ride. Next, we have blue trails, which are more difficult trails. We have two blue trails here at Hanna Park, called the North Side or E-Line and the South Loop. These are our fastest trails. The E-Line is 4 miles long and has a staircase, multiple log crossings, and several other fast features. The South Side is our longest trail at 5 miles. It contains several log crossings, sweeping turns, and several steep uphills. Neither of these trails are designed for beginner riders. Again, make sure to check the signs because the trail direction does alter by day of the week. Finally, we have the black trails, which are very difficult. There are two black trails that are known as Little Joe and the Z-Loop. Little Joe is an out and back multi-directional trail that is 2/10 of a mile long. It is very tight and technical and will challenge even the most experienced mountain biker. The Z-Loop is a 4-mile loop that is fast and flowy in some sections and slow and technical in other sections. Expect extreme log crossings, tight switchbacks, and short, punchy climbs. All right, I hope you had a good time learning about these trails today. If you have any other questions, you can go to JaxParks.com or sorbajax.org. I'll see you guys on the trail.
Thanks to Dan and Sorba Jax for helping us with that video.
Yep, and to download a map of the trails, just go to JaxParks.com and click on the Hanna Park link.
Well, our next segment is one of our favorite. It's called Nature Notes, and it's a great way for you and your family to learn more about the plant life and animal life in Northeast Florida.
Yep, and our parks naturalist Gene Schubert always joins us for these shows, and they're a treat. This episode is about an animal that's slippery, scaly, and Gene would say cute. Just a note, for those who have an aversion to snakes, get ready for some up-close video.
Welcome. I'm Jean Schubert, Parks Naturalist Supervisor with JaxParks, and we're here today at the Nature Center at Tilley-Cay-Fowler Regional Park with another edition of Nature Notes. It's our way of helping you learn about the wonders of nature. Now, last episode we talked about constricting snakes of Northeast Florida. Today we're going to go a little further and talk about the non-constricting snakes, which includes venomous snakes. And we're going to throw in a couple of snakes that are a long way from home. But first, let's review what makes a snake a snake. Snakes are reptiles with scaly skin, no eyelids, no ears, no legs. They shed their skin periodically, and they're found throughout Florida. As you may recall, constricting snakes wrap their body around what they're trying to turn into lunch. Non-constricting snakes just grab with their mouth and swallow down. And some non-constricting snakes have venom that they inject into their prey. Let's take a look at one of our local non-constricting snakes right now. First off, we have a rough green snake. He looks small, but he's a full-grown adult. They're called rough because there's a little raised line down the middle of every scale called a keel. And they have something going on for them that helps them in the wild. It's called counter shading. They're darker on the top and lighter on the bottom. Squirrels and sharks and other animals have that counter shading as well to hide from predators and from prey. When snakes get ready to shed, their eyes go cloudy. We call that being opaque. And then a few days after, they shed their skin. This is his from a few days ago. Well, let's take a look at another snake. We have a pair of eastern garter snakes here at the Nature Center. Like the rough green snake, they have keeled scales, but they come in a variety of patterns and colors. They get to be about 3 foot long on average and are found everywhere in Florida. Now, they may be prone to biting, but as a defense, they will spray out a musk, which is really smelly, but not near dangerous like the venom of a venomous snake. Let's talk about those next. The venomous snakes are non-constricting snakes that use venom injected into their prey using specialized fangs. In Florida, there are 6 species of venomous snakes. We have the coral snake with those famous colors of red, black, and yellow. We've got the diamondback rattler, which is the largest, the canebrake rattlesnake, the pygmy rattlesnake, which is the smallest, the copperhead, and the water moccasin. The copperhead's not in Northeast Florida, but keep an eye out for all the others when you're on the trail. You're not likely to see them, but it's always good to be aware. Now we're going to take a look at some of the exotic snakes that we have here in the Nature Center. Back in the 70s, snakes became popular as pets, many of them coming from other countries. Before you do that nowadays, you need to make sure that you're in compliance with the state and federal laws, as well as your local laws. This little guy, he came from Kenya. He's a sand boa. He's got special adaptations for his life in the sand. His upper lip folds over the lower lip, so that when he burrows down in the sand, he won't get the sand in his mouth. And you'll notice his tail looks very much like his head. So while he's going down into the sand, any predator coming over might think that that's his head and they won't attack him. Beautiful little guy. Now, even though he's small, he is full grown. Aren't you? Yeah. So should we take a look at another exotic snake? Let me get one for you now. This guy is a long way from home as well. It's the royal python, more commonly known as the ball python, because of the habit of curling up into a tight ball when they feel threatened. He's actually from the West Africa area where the grasslands and the forests are, and he hunts at nighttime. And to help him do that, he has heat-sensing pits around his upper lip. They can get to be 6 foot long, but on average they top out at about 3.5 foot. Gorgeous, isn't he though? Look at that pattern. You can come to Tilly K. Fowler's Nature Center to visit Leo or the other captive snakes we featured today. And you can also go to JaxParks.com to find out more about our environmental education programs. And always tune in to JaxParks TV for more episodes of Nature Notes. In the meantime, I'll see you in the parks.
Gene offers environmental education programs throughout the year and has activities for all ages. You can get a complete list online at JaxParks.com. Just click on the link for environmental education.
It's time for us to take another short break, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll take a look at one local park that leads the way for legendary athletes. And a spark in the park still burns strong 22 years later. All that just ahead. Stay with us.
Clean kitchen surfaces, utensils, and hands with soapy water. 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
"7,000 high school students drop out every school day. That's a line of desks more than 4 miles long. We can keep students in school. Visit boostup.org and take the first step.
Families come in all sizes and shapes. Sometimes your friends are your family by choice, or sometimes you're just stuck with Uncle Charles. But what we know is that you want to protect the people that are close to you, but the flu can unravel everything. Your flu vaccine protects you and your family. No matter what draws your family together, protect yourself, protect your family. Everyone needs a flu vaccine.
Basically, Jacksonville is the best city, the state of Florida right now. I think it's gorgeous to live here, new homes. It also a lot of Puerto Rican too, so we enjoyed the festival for the last couple of years. Also, the city opened the door to every Spanish people.
We have the beaches, we have St. Augustine, but mainly it's just a fun, friendly environment to raise a family in. I have 2 boys, and my wife, we all live here in Jacksonville and we enjoy it.
Thanks for sticking around. Now, many people in Jacksonville have made a difference in their community, and a lot of them say that parks played a role in their success.
That's right. Garrett and I were very fortunate to be able to produce a series called Celebrating Jacksonville's Black History, A Legacy of Giving. And during that time, we had a chance to meet a number of extraordinary people and learned a lot about Jacksonville's rich history. We are happy now to be able to share some of that with you. So starting off our first story, the continuing legacy of Scott Park.
There were coaches, there were parents, there were folks in the neighborhood who said, baby, you can do whatever you want to do and you can be whatever that you wanted to be.
That's former NFL player Greg Coleman talking about growing up in Jacksonville and being a part of the Scott Park legacy. Scott Park is located in the city's Magnolia Gardens neighborhood and named after African-American educator and author Dr. John I.E. Scott. Among Scott's many accomplishments, he was the first African-American in Florida to earn a Ph.D. In fact, at the age of 40, he was the only educator in Jacksonville with a Ph.D. It's no wonder that with such an inspirational namesake, this park has had its own influence on so many others.
It was an escape. It was, we call it the field of dreams. All your dreams on that football field, in the parks around Jacksonville, Florida. Your dreams out in that football field, if you can see it and believe it, you can receive it and achieve it.
Derek Gaffney spent a lot of time in Scott Park as a youngster and later went on to play 8 years with the New York Jets. His brother Don was also a Scott Park regular before going on to become the first African-American quarterback at the University of Florida.
I go back to the first professional players that I ever met. I met them right here in this park, watching them do their thing as they prepared to go to training camp. I recall being, 9, 10, 11 years old and watching these guys. Al Denson, for example, was the first real pro, and then of course Bob Hayes, Harold Carmichael, Ken Burroughs. Ken Burroughs was an All-American. He's the first real All-American that I met, but I knew before he became an All-American, so that was a big deal.
Today, the names of the men and women who grew up in Scott Park reads like a who's who of professional sports. Al Denson, Ken Burroughs, Charles Clark, Terry LeCount, Vince Coleman, Greg Coleman, Don, Derek, and Jabbar Gaffney, Sam Davis, Bob Hayes, Harold Carmichael, Noah Jackson, Carlissa Thomas, and we're only scratching the surface. But it's what's below that surface, what the park really means, that is its true legacy.
And Scott Park became a haven because as I think about, and I have a photograph of some of the guys who were champions at Little League Astro Bees football team that played in the Gator Bowl. And back then, you got to remember, this was the late 60s and where segregation was still a dominant part of this history in this city. And for a bunch of black kids to go undefeated and to have our pictures taken in the Gator Bowl, which was the echelon of park sports, it's something that's hard to describe.
A lot more went on here than just football, but you learned how to grow and to develop and how to socialize. You were learning how to be a community leader. You're learning how to develop into that. You're learning how to socialize, learning how to get along with others.
I tell you what was the most rewarding piece for those guys that made it to the pros, like Kenny Burroughs and Harold Carmichael and Al Denson and Boobie Clark and all of those guys. They would always come back to the park, and they would always work with us. I mean, to have a guy like Al Denson to teach Derek Gaffney how to catch, and then Derek would pass those on to his son Jabbar, who played it into the league, and you know, it was just amazing. It was just that kind of, you know, giving. You know, if I would say anything, those men in those neighborhoods and coaches that, even those that didn't make it to the pros, they were pros to us because they gave everything that they had.
I think people from around the United States need to come to Jacksonville, Florida, and come to this field here and see where talent is. Al Denson, Noah Jackson, the center from the Pittsburgh Steelers, Sam Davis, Bob Bullet Hayes, you know, Harold Carmichael, Greg Coleman, Terry LeCount, Cello Williams, and many, many more came on the field right here. Just come and just walk here, and you'll feel something special, and you'll lead a different person.
We invite you to listen to more of the conversations that make up the Legacy of Giving series. Just like us on Facebook at Friends of JaxParks. You can also watch other stories in the series online at JaxParksTV.com.
It's amazing doing stories like that. You see those guys, the success they had, but they still came back and wanted to give to their community.
Right, and I think we both talked about earlier how it was really interesting when we interviewed these folks. They always said Jacksonville was home, and they always said they were coming back home. So what a great statement for Jacksonville as well.
Yep. Now on last show, we introduced you to our Spark in the Park campaign, and many of you sent in your park-related love stories, but sadly, we could only pick one.
So here it is, the story of Dana and George and their spark in the park.
Once upon a time, in a park in Jacksonville, one couple fell in love.
Every time we drive by that park, if I'm alone or with her, so when I'm alone, I hear her voice saying, "Oh, there's our special park." Today,
Dana and George Brown share a home in Jacksonville, where we went to talk to them about their story.
The rain falling lightly on the trees, and you could hear the rain on the leaves, and the sun was shining, and it was just a unique day.
The day George is talking about is the day he asked Dana to be his wife. He proposed at River Oaks Park. And we couldn't resist taking them back to the spot where it all began, their spark in the park. This secluded park is located in Jacksonville's San Marco area. Its expansive trees and greenery truly make it a hidden treasure. They even had their wedding at this very same park, right under the tree where he proposed. And although it was a rainy day, nothing stopped this couple. Muddy and all, they tied the knot. Even to this day, they visit River Oaks Park as a reminder of their love for each other.
22 years has been the best 22 years of my life, and even with muddy shoes and everything else that has occurred in between time, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
Well, I hope in 22 years I feel the same way about my wife as they did to each other.
I think the question is, will your wife still feel the same way about you in 22 years? Lauren, I hope you're listening. What do you think?
I hope so, baby. Anyway, that's it for this March edition of JaxParks TV.
Thanks so much for watching. We want to stay connected with you, so please follow along with us on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube, Google+, and Instagram.
It's quite a lot, but we also have JaxParks.com and JaxParksTV.com.
So we will see you back here next time, but until then, we'll see you in the parks.
Fudo, Taylor, God, gives you tips. 3, 2,
can't do that.
I just thought you really did a good job with that line. I was amazed by it and I just couldn't even focus.
Yes.
Yep. And we got to take one more short break, but don't come